So I often get asked what it was like touring as an alternative rock band in the 90s. So here are my top 3 favorite encounters with 90s rock stars. So once we opened for Hootie and the Blowfish at the Fillmore in San Francisco, and they were great guys. And in the middle of their set, we decided to go backstage and smoke a joint. And we were in the little green room. And while the band is playing, suddenly there's Darius Rucker, like, appearing in our dressing room. And he's got a bottle of Wild Turkey in his hand. And he's like, hey, I'm just going to let these guys jam, and you and I are going to all have a drink. And we're like, yeah, we're going to have a drink. So we sat there for the next 5 minutes, just like pounding Wild Turkey and smoking a J with Darius Rucker. And he was just talking about all sorts of really cool things. It was just a super cool experience. Then he's like, bye, got to go join the band. Then there was this one time we were on tour with the Violent Femmes, and we were up in northern Michigan doing a college tour. And we're sitting backstage in the green room waiting for the show to start, and this guy walks in. And he just walks in the door, and he looks totally weird. He's got slicked back, thick, black hair. And he's got on these sunglasses that are totally opaque and take up half of his face. And he just stands there and stares at us, and we stare back at him, and finally he breaks the silence and says, this isn't the Violent Femmes dressing room, is it? And he says it in this like thick Irish accent, and like I would imitate it, but I sound like a racist Lucky Charms leprechaun when I try to do an Irish accent. And we're like, yeah, man, we think that's probably next door. And you're like, okay. And then he notices that we have like a 4-pack of Guinness Stout in a cooler, and he looks at it and he says, hey, can I have one of your Guinness Stout? And we're thinking to ourselves, like, you know, we're not rock stars. We get like 4 of these things, but like, sure, man, have a Guinness Stout. So he grabs a can, says cheers, and he takes off. And then later that night after the show, our road manager comes up to us and is like, wow, did you know that Bono from U2 was hanging out backstage all night long? I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. I think he mooched one of our Guinness Stout. And then finally there was the lead singer from Fuel, and I forget this guy's name, but the band was really cool, and he kind of sang with one of those Eddie Vedder type of voices. Don't fall away, leave life bleeding in my hands, you know, something like that. And we played a show in Dallas at Deep Ellum, and after the show, he's like, hey, man, let's have some drinks. I'm like, hell yeah, let's have some drinks. So we go up to the bar, and he's like, there's this brand new alcohol called Goldenschlager, and it's got real flakes of gold in it. Like, hell yes, let's drink the real flakes of gold. So I start getting the vibe that this guy wants to drink me under the table. But, I mean, I'm 6'6", 200 pounds, and he's like 5'9", and maybe 150. So we start drinking, and he's slowly going under the bar, and I'm not. And he's nearly passed out on the floor. I'm like, dude, thanks for the drinks. It's all going on your tab. And we walked out. But it was super cool.